everybody. So I'm Artur Schaback, as he introduced me. Thanks for inviting me here. And I'm going to speak the second time now in English. So this talk should be even better than the previous one because I looked up and I know what more to tell. So the topic is how to protect your fintech application from hackers and other bad actors, based on real example by our experience, our use cases, and what we do still now to keep going and protect our users' money and so on. So let's go on. What do we talk about today? First, I'm going to tell what is Paxful, how it works, what kind of problems we have, how do we solve them, and then I go to internals. That security comes first because people, they trust money with you, so you have to educate them because they're not probably as smart as you, as us, like technical people. So the typical exploits like XSS, SQL injection, race conditions, double spends, phishing, which is very important thing when even if your application is as secure as you can do, you can still fall for phishing. And then the DDoS, which is like ongoing thing. Right now we have a DDoS going on, I get notifications. So it's pretty bad, every day we're dealing with that. And so let's start. So we are a marketplace, we're not exchange, we're not a broker. Exchange is where you load the money to the exchange and you buy from them, right? We are kind of like Airbnb, where there are Bitcoin sellers, there are Bitcoin buyers. So we are just providing the listing and escrow service, like Craigslist, like Airbnb. So we connect buyer and seller. For example, you want to buy with Western Union, and I can sell you Bitcoin. So you start a trade with me, we have a private chat, I tell you where to put money on my name. So you go to Western Union, you put money on my name, like for example $100, I pick it up, and then I give you the Bitcoins. So that's the whole model, that's the core of Paxful, of our internals. And on top of that, we can...
Maybe one off-topic question. Do you take a responsibility to guarantee the transaction succeed for your customers or like different side of the party?
Yeah, so how do we guarantee the transactions that the buyer is getting the Bitcoin? And we're providing the escrow service. When you buy from me Bitcoins, the Bitcoins go to escrow, so I cannot take your payment and run away. I cannot cancel the trade. And second is we have the feedback system. It's like eBay. Okay. eBay is built on feedback and trust. We are also built on trust, but also the escrow service. So, and with that core part of buyers and sellers, we can build applications on top. So we have the widget program, which now we call Bitcoin Kiosk. Anybody can share the link on social media, on their website. And with that link, people can buy Bitcoin. And you get 2% commission for every time somebody buys. And right now, we have already $3 million a week traded on our platform, and it's always growing. There's, Bitcoin now is all-time high, and whenever the price goes up, the volume goes up. When the price goes down, everybody forgets about Bitcoin, so the volume drops. But now it's like $1,150 already, so it's almost all-time high, like 2013. Right, this is, I just showed you I'm sorry, I just saw on the next slide, which is, as I told you, $3 million a week is our volume right now. And 30,000 daily users, 1,000 new users every day. We're the third most popular wallet, so that means even though we're a web wallet, we made it easy, secure, and people trust us with their money. And we have 10,000 transactions a day outgoing. Plus, our users are very different. We have these Bitcoin sellers who are very professional, fraud specialists who know how to deal with scams and how to protect themselves, from chargebacks. And then we have the buyers who, they actually don't care about Bitcoin. They just want to pay for some service. They know that they need to pay $50, but they need to pay it with Bitcoin. So they just go to us. We tell them, hey, load $50 with the Western Union, with PayPal, and then they do the payment. So we made it as simple as possible. So I can tell you that you should consider your users as cattle, because they come to your website, they don't know what they want to do. They don't know where to go, how the website works. So they came with the goal to buy Bitcoin. So you make the website this way that they don't have to think much. You don't give them choice. You tell for them what to do. So they're like cattle. You move them until the completion. So they get to the goal, and then you're gonna have the success.
The more polite version of that is customer journey.
Customer journey.
Yes, that's called customer journey.
Well, it depends on your startup, right? 80% are still this kind of people. By the example, we have this intercom support there, widget, and a guy tells like, hey, you know who I am? Like, no, sir, I don't know. Like, it's me, the people's champ, the Dwayne Johnson. I want a lot of Bitcoin. We get this kind of things a lot in our support. We laugh and get our day, more excited about that. So, and also, because the people don't know about Bitcoin much, so they do some typos like Bitcoins, Bitcoins, and Bionics, and all kinds of variations, but not Bitcoin. All right, so before we move to this exploits, here the demographics is about we have 80% from, 60% from US, then Nigeria, because Nigeria has now big devaluation of currency. That's why people go there into Bitcoin. That's another thing, what we're trying to get more people from there. Now the Chinese also is going to be there soon, third, I think. And also we have a lot of people on their old phones, they're not even technically savvy. They sit on Safari old browser, which has a lot of exploits that Chrome doesn't have. I'm going to tell you about that later. And 80% we have mobile users. So, first thing is XSS, which is, you can find a lot of topics about that, but I'm not going to tell you specifics. Very this obvious things, but you should remember that not everything is just in E. You don't have to escape with, escape HTML characters, right? There's the user input can be in other places too. By the way, how many web developers are here? Oh, that's a lot. And just front-end developers? Just one, okay. Actually, I know you. We're working together, yeah. So that's good. Maybe that thing will help you because, there are a lot of Java developers and these things are not needed, but this thing is important when you're doing web applications. So, yeah, that's obvious. When you have user input in between HTML tags, you just wrap it in E or whatever is in your language. But when you have it here in attributes or in JavaScript or in URL, you have to do different escape. And you can check the link below, which has all these explanations, why it must be escaped differently. For example, in the JavaScript, you can inject code that will launch like this without, this HTML tags. You can just have the /u, this Unicode characters, which will actually launch this XSS injection. So, and also remember that in jQuery, only text is escaping HTML. So when you have user input and using some replace, insert, or HTML, it is not escaped. So because of that, we didn't know that, we fell for this kind of exploit when we had some legacy page and we didn't escape the JavaScript. So some guy found out and then he put there his JavaScript snippet, which opened that modal. And when he went to the trade, with the user hey, I want to buy Bitcoins from you, but hey, please go to this link so I can verify it's you. And so I'm the seller, right? I want to sell Bitcoin to him. I get excited. Oh, I get the sale now. Okay, whatever he wants, I'll do that. I go there, and then I'm on that modal. I'm on that page. I see the modal, and I'm thinking, okay. It's Paxful website, right? So it's all good. And I enter the password. What happens after that? It's because it's his script. When you click proceed, it launches his scripts. So what it does, it takes Bitcoins from my wallet and transfers to his Bitcoin address. That's it. I'm out of Bitcoins. And 2 users lost 8 Bitcoins because of that. So we had to refund them. but we fixed this bug quickly. And also this URL escape, you have to do the URL encode and decode when you pass their user input. But mostly the modern browsers, they do that for you, but not Safari. So in Safari and Firefox, you have to escape the user input. Otherwise, you can do this kind of things there. So, and also XSS, you should pay attention on the third-party software you're using, like forums or WordPress blog, or besides your main website, you should check for their vulnerabilities. For example, we still have this thing. Even 2 months later, we use a Discourse forum engine, and they have this, this editor, what you see is what you get, editor that you can embed their, upload pictures. But instead of uploading pictures, you can upload a PHP file. You can fool the browser, right? So, Chrome, it will understand. It's not a picture, but Safari doesn't understand. It will just, launch it, and there's one woman, our user, who is not the seller, not the technically savvy, but the other person, the other kind of person. She went to the forum and she sees that modal, enter your password, and she's asking, why should I enter the password again? I mean, my username and password, is it normal? She doesn't understand that it's, it's exploit. So she enters the password and then she loses Bitcoins. So what we had to do now is we took the forum down, and now we're waiting for the fix. I don't know why it's taking so much time. And Safari is also, it's not following standards, right? It's not checking the MIME type. So we cannot say to people like, hey, download Chrome, because they don't even know how to download apps on their iPhones or old Samsung Galaxies. And, so that's the thing, that even if you check it's all right on your Chrome browser, there can be still exploits in other browsers. So if you have testers, so ask them to test this in older browsers, especially when you do a lot of JavaScript manipulation. There can be JavaScript libraries incompatible. Okay, let's go on. We have SQL injection, which is pretty obvious, but there's one gotcha that some of the ORM, we call them data object mapping, actually, they don't escape some of the this SQL commands. For example, where escapes the user input, but in Laravel Eloquent, which we use, they don't escape order by or group by or the others, right? How did we find out about it? We had some guy, Indian guy, who was telling us about the security exploits we have on the website, but these were some bullshit exploits, like, you have a UI clickjacking, some DNS homographic attack. I didn't even know about them, but he just used some tools that is automatically saying these exploits, and he's just copy-pasting. And then he asked for the money, but because it's like, meaningless things, we just ignore him, and then he tells us, like, hey, you have a SQL injection there. And then it got our attention, like, we started to panic. But we asked them, hey, if you want to prove, show us at least, some records from the database, but he didn't do that. But anyway, we looked over the whole code, and then we had to, Google the Eloquent, like how does it escape? So we found out that this order by, group by, they don't escape the user input. So if you're using some ORM, you should definitely check it if these other methods are escaping. So let's go on.
How do you fix the exploit?
We didn't have this exploit. This guy just said we have SQL injection because he just wanted attention back. Because we obviously ignore him.
Right?
Yeah, we checked all this order by, group by, wherever we don't have their user input.
Okay.
So, but if you use this where, in the conditions, where this is escaped.
How would you fix it?
There's a database escape input. You just have to call yourself escape input.
You wrap input
Into escape, yeah.
Escape and then pass it.
Exactly. You wrap into escape and pass it. Okay, so more complicated thing, if you're dealing with the money, with users' balances, there can be happening double spends because of race conditions on the database level. What is the most common thing? Like, oh, I have 2 deductions, like I'm sending out money twice, $100 from my $300 balance, and not to have the race condition, I just wrap in the transaction, right? DB begin transaction and DB commit. That's it, it's gonna solve. No, it's not. Because, as you can see the example, I have initially 300, select 300. Then I have the second session at the same moment also sees 300 initial balance. So the first session, it subtracts 300, 100 from 300, it gets 200, right? And then it commits. So the answer is 200. So it already took $100 from my wallet. At the same time, the session 2, because it has 300 initial balance, and it also subtracts 100, and it sets 200, and also commits. That means you transferred out 200, you should have 100 by the end, but you have 200 because of these 2 concurrent sessions.
But won't database constraint fix this?
Yes, there are a couple of ways to fix it. So the database constraint, I don't know what you mean exactly. The constraint, like the balance is positive. Yes, you cannot go below negative. That's one thing. But if you have 300 and you deduct twice 100, you're still not below. So the constraint.
Just won't complete the second transaction.
Yeah, if it would go below 0, then it would fail, right? Exception, but not in this case. But you still did a double spend, and bitcoins are irreversible. You're hacked. You have the incompatibilities. You're losing money. So how do we fix it? There are a couple of ways. First, don't do the read-modify-write cycle that I just showed, where you select, update, and then save. Don't do this thing. You do this on the database level. The first example here on top. On database level, you get the balance within the update initial balance, and you subtract in that same SQL query. So that's the approach 1. The SQL does work for you. Second approach is you use the for update. It has to be wrapped also in the transaction, like DB begin transaction and commit. This is actually what we use the approach 2 with the third approach I'm going to show. And also, if you're dealing with the monetary values, with the people's money, you should know about the different isolation levels in your database, whatever you have. MySQL or Postgres, Oracle, they're a little bit different in different SQL versions. For example, you should know what is read committed and what is serializable. Read committed, when it selects and does the update, but the transaction didn't confirm yet, the second session, when it selects, it sees the initial balance before the first session has committed. That's why the first example, it did the double spend, because the session 2, it saw the first initial before the commit balance. So let's go to approach 3, which is called optimistic locking. With balance, you have some kind of counter which increments every time you update the balance. You can just have the counter like +1 every time, or you can have a timestamp, what we use, updated at. ORM is usually doing that for you. It updates the balance plus the timestamp. So as you see, it selects balance and version 1, or you have a timestamp, 7:30, and then the second one selects 2, the balance and 1. So now what happens next? The difference is here that when you update the balance, you set the balance to 200, but besides that, you have to check where the user is this, and the version is 1. And also you set the balance 200 and version 2. So the session 2, because the balance is updated with the version 2, the session 2, it tries to do the where user is 1 and the version is 1. There's no version 1 anymore because we updated the first session. That means it will update 0 rows. That's how you protected yourself. So you use that with for update, and basically you're safe on a database level. You don't have to do anything on your application level like synchronized method calling or anything like that. And if you had the transaction serializable, then on the concurrent update, when two sessions want to update a single row, the second session would fail, throw exception. Whatever is your use case, you can use either with a failing or just ignore, if there's a concurrent modification. Okay, so that's one thing, how to avoid race conditions on the database level with the locking. Another thing is for what we use in our use case when the user has incoming bitcoins, right? If you know how bitcoins work, first you have 0 confirmations, then that's when it's seen in mempool. Then once it's confirmed in a block, once the new block is found, the bitcoin goes to this block, so it has 1 confirmation, 2 confirmations, 3, and so on. So because there can be 2 blocks found at the same time, we get 2 callbacks that there's a new user bitcoins have arrived. So the update can happen twice at the same time of the balance. That's why we just put it in the queue. And we don't have to do this kind of locking on a database level. Oh yeah, and the most important thing is the link below. If you read that, it's a very short read, you'll understand this everything. Is what I learned in university, that wasn't enough about all this thing what I just told. But after this, it's short blog post, everything got clear. Okay, let's go to the next topic, which is not technical anymore, but more this kind of how to, depending on your startup, how to protect your users, how you educate them. That meaning if all these previous things you did perfectly well, super secure, everything protected, no possibilities of double spendings, no XSS, right? You can still get owned with the phishing. Your users or you. First I'm going to tell about the users, and then I'm going to tell about you as a website, how you can be owned by hackers. So some of the common phishing approaches are you make a copy of your login page and put up the AdWords. So whenever you type Paxful, you see there Paxful. And people don't understand, 95% of people, because they're not technical people, so they click on the first link, which is actually ads. So they click there, they're not logged in, and they just enter their username password, and they see after that, oh, we have some problems logging in, please try again later. But actually it was a fake website. On the background happens that your bitcoins are transferred out, that's it. And also with the phishing emails too, they find out somehow your phishing email, and they send you, some email like, warning, your account is not secure, please go here to secure account. Again, you click on the link in the email, and you're there on the login page on fake website, and again, your bitcoins are gone. Even if you have 2-factor, these websites are, can be so smart that they will ask you for 2-factor code as well, and transfer your code, your codes out. Your bitcoins out. So, what can we do in this case? Or, first, what's the outcome of that? Bad reviews, right? People obviously think that we as a website owners are stealing the money. We are responsible for that, right? And this is what kind of things they leave you. For example, this guy went crazy. He went on Twitter, bashing us. He purchased some DDoS services to DDoS us. It was basically what he did. He did a trade, and he got bitcoins, and a couple of minutes later, his bitcoins got transferred out, right? So Now he's blaming us, but we have there more things, how to show to user, like for example, where you log in from. We have it in the account settings, and we asked to show his IP addresses where he logged in from. He had there a lot of some random IPs logged in. And he said it wasn't him, it was us, but it wasn't us. We don't care, stealing like $10 from people. That's what they think. They sometimes say that we steal only sometimes, like from old accounts that don't log in. But actually, what's happening is, most users use same password everywhere, right? Almost nobody's using same password, right? Everywhere. Yeah, so that's the reality. If database gets leaked somewhere, this database is used against us, against our website, and just scans all the emails we have, and then try these passwords that is in the leaked database. So, what's the conclusion? The money is stolen from our users, bad reviews, less trust, affects reputation. When you Google Paxful review, it's horrible. We're working on that. So what can we do in this case? What could you do? On the login page with the phishing case, you put there above the login form that, hey, make sure you're on Paxful website, that there's a green bar, it's definitely Paxful, right? But the hackers are still a little bit smarter. Instead of that, they put there some of our partner, like Paxful is powered by BigGo or something else, right? Not this, and then you don't pay attention to that you're in Paxful. So then use two-factor for sure. This is like number one thing. This we tell to everybody. We have it on our website, like everywhere. Your account is not safe, security is weak, please use two-factor. But still some people, they don't want to use it because for example, when you have to send out Bitcoins or when you have to log in, you're in a browser, on a phone, you enter username and password, then you have to close the browser, you have to open the Google Authenticator or SMS, you have to remember the 6 digits, open back the browser, right? But imagine if you're like some 60-year-old woman who does this with her speed. That's why we have these users who are just against two-factor. So we did some more things for that. I'll tell you later. Yeah, and besides protecting your users, protect your reputation. You put a lot of information of user activity, where he logged in, when, his active sessions, all his activity logs. So whenever he says, "Oh, I got hacked," you can tell him, "Hey, look in your account settings. What were your last actions, right? And from which IP addresses? Was it you or not?" He says, "No, it wasn't." So then, okay, sorry, right? And put on the two-factor, and you will be more safe next time. But again, we don't want this to happen at all. And I really can't imagine how many users got hacked, how many Bitcoins got stolen. This is not a small number, unfortunately. So let's go on with social engineering, how to protect your website, not your users, but yourself, of your website, your server. It doesn't matter, again, how secure is your website. You can still get owned by hackers, by social engineering. That's how we got once really badly affected. We got downtime of 9 hours in peak time, Friday evening. We wanted to go to Dance Paradise, right? You know this party here. But at 9 p.m. our server got down. It was down like till 6 in the morning. So the story was that a guy called to our hosting provider. He just wanted access. So hosting provider just asks for one security question. And if you answer that, you get passed and they can do whatever you want. He asked to put the server into the rescue mode so he could get in. And that's what happened. How he got the security answer? He called 1 week before. He tried to reset the password, and maybe there somehow he got it or he guessed it. So a week later he got in the server. But
how this person knew your hosting provider in the first place?
We have it in the footer. We have to put it there. because we have it for free, right? So it's mandatory, like, hey, SoftLayer, we're using SoftLayer for hosting.
You turn over $3 million dollars in bitcoins every week, right?
Yeah.
How do you just pay for hosting so you don't have to promote it?
Actually, we have the promotion over. We can remove it, yeah. But they will find out no matter what. This is the thing. You should protect yourself a different way. First, the security questions you have, I recommend, if question is, what is your favorite color? Don't make the answer about the color. Make the answer on some different question, like what's your favorite book, or author, or I know when were your parents married. So mix up the question and answer, right? And then call the hosting provider and tell the procedures how to get, into the service with the support. What we said, like no phone support every time, email verification that it's really us, and only from certain phones accept the calls, right? Not from some random phones, because this hacker, he was from Canada, and he obviously had, English without accent, so they thought, okay, it's really me, because they tell me, oh, there's some guy pretending Arthur, he called with a Spanish accent, right? Which was actually me. So they thought, oh, that's shady, but the Canadian guy is all fine, US company, and seems like, okay. Then use the 2FA on this third-party softwares. For example, quite lately, like 2 months ago, somebody tried to hack into our intercom by pretending somebody of us, but it's just the support, but still, they just thought, oh, it's a weak thing, right? There's an intercom support, they're just support guys, so we can easily get there. But intercom was smart. They emailed me and said, hey, somebody is pretending to get access, right? Is it really you? So I said, no, right? Besides that, if you're doing something, something big or some startup where, people want to steal from you, keep your social network quiet, because they can track you, they can check your statuses like, oh, you're boarding a plane, next 9 hours, let's DDoS, right? Next 9 hours, we can do some tricks there. So don't post anything real time, don't have your friend list open, keep it private, and don't add to friends some random people. I think that's how we got hacked in this first case with the hosting, that we had this guy, he pretended to be Amir, who is our friend, and how he found out, probably because this friend of ours, he's leaving some replies on our social media, and then he found out, oh, it seems like he's close guy, it means like he works with them, so he pretended to be him. So the lesson learned is check over your friends list and remove everybody you don't know. And also, yeah. We did. You know what we wanted? With this hosting situation case, we wanted the phone calls, the phone recordings from SoftLayer. But and we wanted just to find out, like, what did they tell him over the phone, how far he got, but SoftLayer did not cooperate with us. Because they knew, like, it was their fault. They said, oh, you have to ask the lawyer, the legal department, through your lawyer, you have to, for a subpoena, and so on. So we did all that. They said, like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have the phone calls anymore. Basically, they didn't give us anything, because they knew we can sue them. Because, we had a downtime for 9 hours. And we don't know, how much got lost. Hopefully nothing, because so far there's nothing leaked. So it's really important, they want to protect their ass as well. Anyway, so next thing. The users can be social engineered too, not just phished, but social engineered. In our case, in our example, again, on the trade page, when you do a trade with the user, somebody wants to buy from you, and he's actually a hacker, so what he tells, like, hey, I need to verify that, you're a seller, you're legit, so you should copy me your source code into the chat. And I'm thinking, okay, so whatever, I'll just copy the source code. I copy there, he takes there the CSRF token, which is this in the head, even though we have all these comments here, do not share it, do not, right? But because I don't see that, I still copy to him. He makes the URL shortener, which actually when you click on that, it goes to the action that gives over the coins to him. So I do that, I click there on his link, and I give him over the coins. And I don't know what happened. But I blame the website owners, like, oh, you stole my money. I don't know, I didn't click anywhere. That's why what we did in this case, because that's a GET request, right, when you click on link. So we made this give over the coins, release the coins into the post request, like a few weeks ago. It means it's a lot harder to shorten the URL. So we'll see how long we are protected against this. So again, to repeat that, social engineering is number one case. Phishing is social engineering when your users can lose money, data, whatever, images, and you can get hacked only through social engineering. Even as secure your website is, you should protect yourself from social engineering. So let's go on into DDoS, which is continuous battle. It's like last 2 days we have this ongoing thing, like 10,000 IP addresses, some botnet is DDoSing us constantly, so we're just banning these IP addresses on and on. Anyway, there are two types of attacks, big types. Like layer 4 is just some UDP package, UDP packages, like a lot of traffic, like 10 gigabytes, 300 gigabytes. You have read the news, like some of this, how come we're not willing to protect some website against like 400 gigabyte attack, right? So Google took it over. That was the layer 4 attack. And usually your hosting, it can take up to 1-2 gigabytes. And when it's like 30 gigabytes of attack, you get null routed, your server goes down. And then there's layer 7 attack, which is like application specific attack. They target some operation heavy endpoints, or just the root of the project with a lot of requests, and your web server gets overflown, the memory gets full, your CGI goes down, and then you see that picture, error 504 or 522. I'm sure you have seen that in a lot of places because it's Cloudflare. It's the most popular DDoS protection because it's easy to install. So what to do in these cases? How do we protect ourselves? Against layer 4, it was easy. You just put in between the Cloudflare or some other protection, and they just filter out the packages that is garbage. But layer 7 is a little bit harder. We started, simple attacks, WordPress trackback. It's when old WordPress is, when it's old WordPress and it's not fixed, you can signal that this WordPress should signal to some URL that, hey, I'm WordPress, and that's it. It does the request to your website. But imagine you have thousands of this kind of infected WordPress websites, and they just signal to you, to a website, and then it goes down because so many requests at the same time. So you just ban the referrer in this case. You see it's a WordPress trackback. Then there are brute force cases when the hacker is brute forcing the login. He has some leaked database and he's trying to log in with the users. You put their captcha in between. You put rate limiting. Well, rate limiting, it doesn't help because it's per IP address. So you just have to analyze his request. For example, he doesn't have a referrer. He has the same dummy user agent or some other things, some dummy user agent.
So like match patterns, how to identify this request.
Right, or it's some specific country. Okay. Then, because the captcha obviously doesn't work. It works against protecting the user. Your user, so they can log in, but they can buy some captcha solver which solves like captcha in 10 seconds. And that's now this guy who's DDoSing us, he's getting past the captcha, unfortunately. So you see, it's not always helping. even with the CAPTCHA and the rate limiting. Also with the registration, you can, again, register a lot of users with a lot of IP addresses and just, DDoS the project. For example, when user registers, in our case, there's a lot of asynchronous tasks in the background happening. So when there are 10,000 users registered at the same time, everything else gets delayed. That's why you put their CAPTCHA in between. And most important thing, for example, registration, only one registration per IP address every 30 minutes. This kind of limitations. And in the login, don't forget that when you log in with the incorrect password, but the email exists, do not say that incorrect password. Just say user email or password is incorrect. Otherwise, the guy will know that, hey, this email exists. I can keep on brute forcing that. So what can you do then in this case if we go one more option to protect your user is geolock, which we just implemented. Is when you log in from a new location, far location, you're in Estonia, but you log in from somewhere from Africa, then it means it's not you, probably. So you have to verify your last login attempt. So we send the email like, hey, was it you logged in? If yes, then click here and verify it. But if it's not, then you don't click and you're safe. Let's go on. More DDoS protection options is, as I told you, you put on some HTTP proxy, which is like CloudFlare, Encapsula, or there's other ones. CloudFlare is the easiest to start, $200 a month. Then they have enterprise package. Encapsula is like they make you a custom offer, so then they are not so easy to start. Then you delegate the DNS to third party, like CloudFlare is offering that. You limit the requests. For example, 2 requests per second. After that, there's a CAPTCHA, or there's 5 minutes wait time. And use some firewall, proper firewall software on your servers. You whitelist the ports that only the ports that are you using, make them available for the outside world. Do not blacklist, but whitelist. And if we go back here on the login page, whenever we get brute forced with the login and this guy gets past CAPTCHA, we have the Google CAPTCHA version 1. CloudFlare allows to have their CAPTCHA. So when you go on the login page, before seeing the login page, there's a full screen of CloudFlare's CAPTCHA, like, hey, enter the CAPTCHA here. So every time we get DOSed, we enable this CAPTCHA, and then this guy, he doesn't even get to our servers because he stops on CloudFlare, which is a really good thing. That's why we had to buy the enterprise package from CloudFlare. They offer that, and it's a good protection. So we use, again, as I told you, all these things with the login, registering CAPTCHA, rate limiting, registering again was after some specific time, and then if the DDoS is against some heavy endpoint, some API, or something else, you cache the results. But we had this one thing where we show the offers to the user, and we never cached it. But now, after somebody found out that, hey, it's a super heavy endpoint, we just had to cache the results for 5 minutes, and now it's saving us. And that's it. What I want to tell you that, this is a constant battle against hackers, and it makes all the software in the world more secure. People will trust you more, and we can be thankful for them that they do exist, and they give us this opportunity to always improve security of our website, of our app. And if somebody wants to join us, we're looking now for front-end developer, PHP developers. Or if you know somebody, then we have 3,000 euros of referral price. And we have a lot of perks in the company. For example, we have food twice a day coming in the office from Pool. If you know this place in Rotterdam, our office is there as well. and we have vacations. For example, we were in autumn in US, maybe somebody read the news about that. Yeah, we have 6 developers in the team, like 5 support people. So it's a pretty small team, very agile, very like startup oriented. Our office is very cool. Ceilings like here. So just send email to info@Paxful, whoever is interested, and thank you so much. Questions?
From 5 minutes to ask Artur questions, if anybody has them.
What is the average age of your customers?
Well, we don't know that, but we know we have 60% females. We don't know the average age of our customers, but we have 60% females actually buying Bitcoin. And they're usually like single mothers. Yeah.
Do you know how big percentage do you have these ransomware victims who just need Bitcoin to unlock their hard drives or some backups or whatever?
So how many ransomware victims we have who want to buy Bitcoin?
As
Yes,
customers.
as our customers. Actually don't, because once we find out that the person wants to buy Bitcoin for ransomware, we cannot sell to them because it's illegal to sell to person if you know that he needs that for the ransomware. Because you're helping the criminal organization if you give him Bitcoin. That's why I hope not many, they find them in the other places. And the ones who want the Bitcoin for ransomware, they are not saying to that, hey, I need Bitcoin for that. So basically, hopefully not a lot, not at all.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you considered to obligate your customers to use 2FA? And if you did, what would be the consequences? How would it impact for internal volumes?
So you're asking about mandatory 2-factor for all our users. We could have it, but the problem is that we are positioning ourselves as marketplace to buy Bitcoin for the mainstream, but mainstream is not very technically savvy, so we cannot force them to use that, otherwise we would lose a lot of people. That's why we say Paxful is the website where you buy your first Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? It's all so clear. You made it all so clear.
Thanks.
So like for private questions.
Yeah, you can still do private session during our snack break. So thank you so much, Artur. It's official. We got our DEVCLUB swag bag.
Oh yeah.
There's some socks for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.